Morning, afternoon, or evening. It looks like you are opting to watch a video that comes in more than one part, probably because it was lengthy and we like to keep them kind of short so people don't have to sit too long. So this could be a two-parter, three-parter, four-parter. I don't know which one you're looking at, but just wanted to let you know if you are on, say, part one and it has a part two, that part originally will come out on a date separate than part one. So just keep a lookout for the same title name where it says part two, part three, or part four, and you should find your way accordingly. I hope you enjoy, and I hope it helps clear up some sort of concept that someone was asking about. I'll see you later. Bye-bye now. Hey, good morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome to All Things Social Security. Today, we're going to go over composite jobs. I don't think it's given nearly enough credit, and I think it can be a really valuable tool to present, I would say, at every level. And whether or not it's going to work on the initial and recon is a whole nother story. But if when we're going for an ALJ hearing, this is something that I would have in my brief. All right. So let's get to it. It might seem boring, but it's really not. And it's so applicable to so many jobs. It's going to be particularly important. It really applies to step 4 of the sequential evaluation process, which applies to all cases, but it's particularly pivotal for those over 50 because of the grids. But the people below 50 have to pass step 4 also. So let's get to it. All right. So let's put together an article on this because it's going to go up on the website. But we're talking about why a composite job can be your advantage at step 4. And the example we're going to use is furniture salesperson. All right. So let's get into how it can be strategically decisive in your case. And again, we're going to use a furniture salesperson, but it can be applicable to so many other jobs. You need to understand this because it can eliminate, like I said, one of the Social Security Administration's most common denial steps, and that is step 4, which is you can do your past job as it is generally performed in the national economy. Remember, there's generally performed, and there's as you performed it in that particular job. So step 4 kind of has those two little prongs. So at step 4, the SSA, just to be clear about what it is, and we do have a video on the sequential evaluation steps, and I think that's actually a playlist in and of its own if you wanted to look at that. But anyway, the step 4, the SSA is asking a very narrow question. Does the claimant retain the residual functional capacity, RFC, residual functional capacity, to perform past relevant work? The SSA's current governing rule on how it evaluates past relevant work is the Social Security Ruling 24-2P. There had been a previous one for years prior to that, but in 2024, they, with this ruling, they kind of tweaked it a little bit. So at step 4, the SSA often tries to deny a claim by saying one of two things. One, you can do your past work as you actually performed it, which is what you put on your work history report or testified to at hearing. Or 2, even if you can't do it the way you personally did it before, you can do it as generally performed in the national economy, often by pointing to the Dictionary of Occupational Titles and how that job is described in there as to what kind of exertional capacity it needs and other capacities, manipulative, postural, etc. So SSR 24-2P explains that the framework that the SSA uses to make that past work decision can be really helpful. And here's the key. That generally performed shortcut does not apply the same way when the claimant's job was a composite job. Composite job. So what's a composite job, of course? It's essentially a job that's a hybrid job, a position that combines significant duties from 2 or more occupations, so much so that there is no single DOT companion that can be applied as the same. No companion job that captures what the person actually did. So the SSA POMS is also explicit on this point, and you can look at POMS D. Particular POMS states that a composite job does not have a DOT counterpart, and therefore SSA should not evaluate it under the generally performed in the national economy part of step 4. And let me just add this in. It is so important to be able to get rid of that generally performed, because the way we often do our jobs, they are a lot harder than the way they are described in the little job description when we took the job. You know, a retail manager is managing, you know, it's a little pedestalish. No, they're often in there with their hands getting dirty, lifting heavy things. They basically pull the weight when someone doesn't show up. They got to do that part of the job. It's all the jobs that everyone else does, plus they have to manage the whole spiel. So that's just an example of what I'm talking about when I say what we do on the job is often different than the cushy little job description. It's because employers are trying to not have to hire 2 people and have twice as much expense. Maybe hire one person that can do both jobs, pay him a little bit more, and you saved having 2 people on the job, which saves a ton of things, including workers' comp and many other bills that come along with it, payroll, taxes. So that whole business about getting rid of the second prong of generally performed in the national economy, you no longer have to prove that if your job was a composite job. That's invaluable. You do not have to prove that you can't do a job the way they cushionly describe it in the DOT or elsewhere. So let's look at the furniture sales job as a real world example. It's kind of a perfect example, and I'm dealing with one right now, so that's why I wanted to put this out. And again, it always looks simple on paper, but the complicated real life job of the story is not. So on paper, someone might say, I was a furniture salesperson. So what did that actually involve? As they describe here, and in my case, in many stores, especially smaller operations, a furniture sales job can include customer service and closing sales, continuous standing and walking on a showroom floor, rearranging heavy items for floor display, ding, 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 that's my main point, loading furniture onto vehicles, unloading deliveries, assembling pieces, or working the warehouse and inventory, all those things. If the claimant's furniture sales job required meaningful, ongoing physical duties that look like warehouse work or delivery work, those duties are not just minor add-ons. They can be substantial, and they can transform the past relevant work into a composite job. And when it is a composite job, as we know, the SSA is not allowed to pretend the claimant did only the easy, clean salesperson parts of the job. They have to look at the whole thing. And so here's the strategic point about it when you're defending your claim or pursuing your claim, putting your claim forward. That part is over. If you're looking for the following part, if there is one, or a preceding part to the same video that was longer, just look under the channel for the same title video. They are named the same, and they just have part 1, part 2, part 3, or whatever part it is. So feel free to take a look, see, and complete the video. Take care.